Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to look at something video game related. Now I've been wanting to do some game related content for a while, and I do still have plans to do that. I want to take a look at a few retro consoles and such. But today I thought we'd take a look at the Oculus Quest 2. Now, I got this just the other week. The Oculus Quest 2 is the new sort of standalone VR headset released by Oculus Facebook group. And the premise here is that it's a headset that you don't have any wires, you don't have to connect to a PC or anything like that. It's sort of an evolution, I guess, of things like the Samsung Gear VR where you had to put your phone in, except you don't necessarily do that with this one. It's got the processor and all the tech inside it. Now, I personally really love VR. Problem is, I don't get much of a chance to use it. It's kind of maybe down to laziness, but I got a PlayStation VR when it first came out. Loved it, and then kind of setting it up and using it was a little bit of a hassle, especially when I got a 4K TV, because the older PSVR headsets don't allow the HDR pass-through, so I have to swap cables if I want to make use of HDR in games. Then you got to move the living room around, like move the coffee table, get the wires, sync the controllers, turn on the console, make sure your camera's in the correct position. So I kind of don't use it as much as I would like to because of that faff we're setting up. So the reason I kind of wanted to get the Quest 2 was it eliminates that faff, and it's kind of on par with quite good tech-wise. The games on it are kind of what you get on the PSVR. And if I wanted to, I can connect this to my computer via a link cable, which is unfortunately sold separately, but that's another issue. So I've already wasted like 2 minutes talking about that. Let's actually open it up and take a look at the headset. And we'll also do some comparisons with the PSVR itself. So I got this carry case with it. Weird story is the carry case actually came like a week before the headset did, thanks to some delivery issues. So here we go. We got the headset itself. It all fits really snugly in there. So let's get the headset itself out. You can see it's quite a small headset. I'll put it off to one side because I will show off the controllers first. So yeah, that was another thing as well. I think I mentioned with the PSVR, you've got your controllers, you need to sync them up, and it's all just a bit of a faff. So your controllers for the Quest 2 are these really nice kind of futuristic looking things. Here you've got like the description there, you've got the circular section, analog stick for movement, your buttons, kind of like a home menu button, I don't quite know what that is yet, and you've got some trigger buttons there. So it's really nice to hold controllers. Cables there, like straps to put them onto your wrist, but they're really, in my experience so far, really nice to hold, really easy to use, very kind of, buttons are nice and responsive, analog sticks are nice, buttons are good. I've turned these on, didn't mean to do that, don't thought anything will happen. So yeah, these are really nice. Now let's just quickly, for comparison's sake, we'll compare them to the PSVR. Now, the PlayStation VR has a number of options. As we probably know, you can use like a PlayStation 4 controller itself. That's got the analog sticks and all that on there. It's a dusty controller. But primarily what I used was the PS Move controllers, which were fine. These were these wand type controllers. And the main issue really is that these lack an analog stick. They've got plenty of buttons and they feel quite nice to use. But again, it was just a bit awkward when you would play games that kind of allowed you to use your hands, but also needed just that little bit of extra support with the analog sticks. So that's just that. There's also the aim controller as well, which I'll just quickly get on screen. This felt really good to use in some games, but I kind of preferred the Move controllers. So I'm glad with the Oculus you get these controllers there. So the headset itself. So this is the headset. It's quite a small, lightweight headset. It feels quite comfortable to use. I noticed in the reviews a few people commented on the strap being a little bit awkward. I haven't really had any problems with that myself. It kind of did feel like it was going to come off at times. but it never did. I maybe had a bit of problems putting it on. My main issue was I have quite long hair, so getting hair out of my face when I put a headset on is a little bit awkward. But overall, it feels like quite a nice headset to use. It's fairly comfortable. What we got here, we got like you got your power button there. On the other side, we've got a port for headphones and a port for the charge cable, and underneath we've got your volume there. So it's a very nice headset to use. So again, just a quick comparison with my PSVR. The PSVR is obviously quite a bulky one. Now I'm not going to knock the PlayStation VR at all because it came out a few years ago. It came out to be used with the PlayStation 4, and I still think it's a lovely bit of kit. This is just kind of for comparison's sake. Now, the one thing I will say is I kind of found the PlayStation VR headset a little bit easier to put on because you've got the sort of the lovely kind of strap at the back, which you press the button, you pull it out, and it adjusts the size of your head. I really like that on it. It's very quick to adjust, but this is still really good for what you get. And like I say, quite comfortable, fits nicely. It's really good quality so far. So yeah, there you have it. So what I thought I'd do is I'll just kind of walk through a few of the steps with the Oculus and show off the two games that I have bought for it so far, which are Superhot VR and Vader Immortal. So the first thing you'll be asked to do when you set up the console is to kind of define your boundary. So what you can see me doing here is I'm putting the controller onto the floor to set that this is the actual floor, and then what I will do is I will paint an area around myself to sort of say this is the safe boundary for me to play in this space. It's a really quick and intuitive setup. There is an alternative mode where you can do like a static setup, or just be the space immediately around you, but generally you're going to want to have space to move around in. Now the first game we're going to look at is Superhot VR. Superhot VR is a VR port of the independent game Superhot. It's sort of an action puzzler game in which time only moves when you move. You see on the screen there. And the idea is to get rid of the enemies, solve whatever is on screen, whilst taking that into account. Now this is really cool in VR because it kind of makes you feel like you are actually in the middle of an action movie, a la The Matrix or John Wick. I believe is the most prominent example of this. It is a film I haven't seen. So, you could probably write down all the films I had seen on one sheet of A4 paper. But yeah, the idea is you'll make use of weapons, environmental objects, or even your own fists to kill the enemies, as you can kind of see me doing here. It's really cool. It's very, very physically active. It kind of doesn't look it, but it really does get you to build up quite a bit of a sweat. One of the things you can kind of see here is there's sometimes a little bit of awkwardness as you realise that idea of time only moving when you actually move. So you see me kind of moving quite slowly, just waiting for the character to get close to me. Like I say, you make use of all sorts of weapons in this. You make use of guns, you make use of shurikens, bottles you can pick up, and as the game goes on, the challenges get progressively harder, you move around quite a bit, and it's definitely one of those games where I think for anyone new to VR, I would show this one off to kind of show this is what VR is capable of. It's not going to stress you in terms of motion sickness. It's going to get you moving around active. It's going to show things that I think it's going to show things that only VR can really do. And yeah, you'll feel kind of badass playing it. As you can probably see by the images in the top right, you will look like a bit of a knob. Especially when, as you can probably see in some of these examples, I turn away from the camera because I'm not quite aware of where I am in the VR space. That wasn't intentional. I was kind of hoping I'd stay facing the same direction throughout the entire thing, but the Quest 2, not having wires to tether you there, kind of works against it when you want to record a video. So I'm actually facing the window. I live on a first floor flat, so hopefully no one saw me, and it is a building site out there at the moment. But yeah, Superhot VR is a fantastic example, I think, of what VR can do. I would absolutely recommend it if you get any sort of VR headset. It's available across most VR platforms, if not all of them. And, you know, it's just a really good action game. It's kind of... The top two I would recommend for any sort of new VR is Superhot VR and Beat Saber. I don't think you can go wrong with either of them. So yeah, that's Superhot VR. Now we'll move on to one that I hadn't played before, but it's kind of one I was looking forward to, Vader Immortal. So, Vader Immortal, as you probably guessed by the name, is a VR game set in the Star Wars universe. I'm not really a Star Wars fan, so I can't quite know when exactly in the Star Wars timeline this is set, but the premise of the story is that you are the captain of like this small vessel. You and your robot companion are kidnapped by the Imperials, Darth Vader specifically. Darth Vader has been capturing people for some time now, looking for someone to open this artifact he has, which holds the secrets he hopes to immortality. Vader wants to cheat death, hence the name Vader Immortal. So, this game basically has you controlling your character. What I played so far is you are escaping the facility, getting past enemies, taking them out using a lightsaber, and solving, getting through basic environmental hazards. Like, you know, you climb ladders, you open lifts, and other panels. It feels really, really cool to use so far. The lightsaber combat is, you know, incredible, and the sort of the main core gameplay loop so far is, it's not the most intense VR game. It's, again, one of those ones that I think is quite good, just introducing someone to VR, because you've got some basic movement in there, but not enough, I think, to really knock someone sick. I will admit that my brain did kind of feel a little bit strange when climbing up and down ladders, but it wasn't too intense. I've played some VR games that have really knocked me for a loop, and this one didn't do that. And of course the side effect, not the side effect, but the other thing is that you get to wield a lightsaber in the game and do all those sort of cool things that you see in the Star Wars universe. You get to fight enemies, you get to deflect bullets, which... Once you get the knack of doing that, there's a scene later on in the game, I'll drop in now, where you're fighting stormtroopers and you get to deflect all the bullets back at them. Unfortunately, as I recorded it, I moved away from the camera, so you can't quite see me moving the controller in sync, but it feels really nice to do. The mapping is really, really sweet. It's, you know, as you move your arm, it's moving it in there really nicely. There's no sort of delay from what I felt. As you swing the lightsaber, you really feel you're coming down with the Force. The Force. Sorry, bad joke. But yeah, this is another one I think I would easily recommend it. I'm really looking forward to playing this more. And like I said, I'm not much of a Star Wars fan. I really appreciate the universe, but I've never really sat down to watch movies. I would imagine if you are a Star Wars fan and you have VR, this is going to be in your element with this one. I liken it to things like Squadrons last year. Again, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, as I keep saying, but I played that and I just absolutely loved what I played. Fallen Order was another one, the sort of, not Soulsy-born Star Wars hybrid. There's a lot of good games out there for Star Wars fans at the moment, I feel, and this is just another one out there. It's a really great experience. Now, with this one, you get your two modes. You get a story mode where you play through what I've just mentioned, with Vader capturing you and escaping the facility. There's also kind of like a dojo mode, where you just get to wield a lightsaber, destroy these drones, inflict bullets back at them, and all sorts of really nice stuff, and it just feels so cool. And the really nice thing about the Quest compared to the PlayStation VR, and again, I don't want to delve too deeply on comparing the two because it's different tech aiming for different things, but because the Quest 2 doesn't have the wires, you can move around 360 degrees without worrying about tripping over yourself. You can worry about tripping over things in your living room, as I frequently was. You know, I was worried about moving forward into the sofa or kicking the coffee table, which didn't happen because I was able to set the boundaries beforehand. and know where my safe space was. And what you can't see in these videos is that if you start straight out of that safe space, the grid will appear in game and warn you. Initially, go back to the Superhot example. When I was playing Superhot, I was seeing it quite frequently because I didn't set up the boundaries fully. In this one, I wasn't seeing it as much because I set up the boundaries a little bit larger to really cater for the living room space. So again, this is just another really good example, I think, of what VR can do. It's not too intense. It's just kind of like intense enough, I feel. And like I say, if you're a Star Wars fan or even intrigued a little bit by it, I can't recommend this one enough. So yeah, that's the two games I kind of wanted to show off. And we'll just go on to, like, final little recap of it. And yeah, thank you very much for checking this out. So all in all, what do I really think of this? Well, I didn't really intend for this to be a review, more of a little showcase, but I do really like this so far. It's really easy to use, very easy to set up. You can kind of see there's like an initial setup stage, and the lack of a camera to come with it means you get to kind of set your own boundaries, and it's a really nice headset. Now, the Oculus comes in two kind of flavours. It comes at like a 64GB version and a 256GB version, which is the one that I have. There is about £100 difference between the two. Now, I kind of think it's worth paying that extra £100 for, like, triple, 4 times the memory you're getting there. But I do appreciate this is quite a sort of high budget item. So one of the things I do think about VR is I absolutely do love it, as I mentioned before. I don't necessarily think it is sort of this big future of gaming, but I think it's going to be a very integral part of video games to come. And not just video games, but using sort of that sort of interactive medium, I suppose. You can kind of see some great looking games there, but I also see potential for things like concerts and being able to, not go to, but being able to use these sort of things in classrooms or just anywhere, like educational experiences. I've always kind of felt that what we do with video games is we make great interactive experiences for people, and those aren't just limited to video games. You can do so much with the tools that we have to create video games, and I kind of feel VR might be an integral part to that. That said, I appreciate it's quite a high price point at the moment, and it might always remain as such, and also there are other issues that come into it in terms of like accessibility issues. Not everyone can make use of everything VR has to offer. There's also things like motion sickness to take into account, and I know they are doing better work on eliminating the motion sickness, but it might always be a thing and some people might not take to it, which is why I don't necessarily see it as a future, but I see it as an integral part to come, and I think people can do some amazing things with it. As an example, I'm really looking forward to playing Hitman 3 through in VR. It's given me an excuse to get my PlayStation VR headset out again. I was kind of sad that I missed out on something like Half-Life Alyx, because I know it's a lot of horror experiences with VR, and I'm not very good with horror. But overall, if you do have the opportunity to give one of these a go, I would definitely say give it a go, give it a try. It's a nice I think it's a good headset to get hold of, and because you don't need the computer, because you don't need a console to hook it up to, and there's quite a lot of good experiences on here to take into account. You saw 2 of them today, but there are things like Cyan Worlds have just released a new version of Myst on here. There's a Jurassic World game which is supposed to be pretty decent. You've got Beat Saber on here, which loads of people have played and is a great game. You've got shooting games on here. You've got horror experiences. You've got like interactive films, all sorts. So definitely give it a go. I'm really happy I purchased this. Thank you all very much for taking the time to watch the video. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.